What is up, everybody? My name's Cole. I'm a part-time real estate investor, full-time legacy airline pilot, and a part-time military instructor pilot. Today, I'm going to be breaking down all the income and expenses for my 60-unit rental portfolio for the month of June. We sold off a couple duplexes, so we're not quite at the 66 or 65, whatever I have in my bio. I apologize, but we're going to have that number back up after this month. We got a bunch of things closing this month, so I'm going to break down everything that came in, everything that went out the door, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. It will be disclosed this month, and then I'm going to continue to do that for the rest of the year and see if people like it. If you love it, if you hate it, leave a comment, let me know. I'm going to jump over to the screen share off my computer so I can show you all the PDFs and we'll talk about it. There's a ton of people in the real estate space on the internet that just talk about the good. All you need to do is buy a couple duplexes. If you can own 10 rental properties before you're 30 and blah, blah, blah. All this non-practical advice for people trying to get started, and I'm here to show you the practicality, the real look inside of a portfolio that I wish I would have had back when I started, so you guys can make better educated decisions and buy properties that actually make money, and so you don't waste your time like I had so often at the beginning of this whole journey. So anyways, we're going to jump over to the computer, give you guys a look inside. If you love it, if you hate it, let me know, and I'll talk to you in a minute. What is up, everybody? Welcome to my computer. Now I've got the entire month of June written up all in here. I try to do my best to include as much as possible, but I did want to be respectful of the company that works with me and the tenants' names. I felt it was most appropriate to redact that stuff. We're just going to go through line by line. It's not the most intuitive off of this PDF here. I do have a portal that I can log into that makes things a little bit easier. This is all generated with a company called Appfolio, big name in the rental property or management business, but there's lots of different programs and softwares out there that you can use. This just happens to be one that they use, and I tend to like it. So we'll start off with this first property. It's got some information that's not included right now, the address of the property, the money that came in, the money that went out, and what I actually got from this property. Now, this, full disclosure, this number is before I pay for the mortgage, before I escrow money for taxes and pay for insurance. It's not exactly just the 1,027 that you see there. There's other things that get subtracted out. So we'll go line by line. We got some rent income coming in. We got some more coming in, more. We retreated for mice. You'll see there's a couple properties that have mice problems or rat problems, and you could say, well, it's a bad property, but honestly, a lot of times it's the tenants and the way that they live in these properties. I don't want to put full blame on them, but there's definitely an aspect of that if you leave garbage and open just food laying around and you leave your doors open and windows open, things like that, animals get in and they tear your shit up. We treated for mice, $55. Replace vanity and drain pipes, $425. That's expensive, right? We got some more rental income, and then we got the credit back for the repair. I'm not sure exactly if this repair was something that the tenant was driving, and somehow I got the credit back. Water bills aren't something that comes to mind a lot of times when people are thinking of a property and what it costs to own it. They're thinking of the mortgage, the interest, and the taxes. Usually those are the three things that come to mind right away, but a lot of this other stuff, treating for rats, fixing a vanity maybe, and doing some water bills, that stuff, that's real life. That property is owned by me, so it's just a one page for that one, and then we roll into the next one. This one's actually owned by an LLC. There's 12 properties in this LLC. Cash in's 19,797. We got some cash out here, about $5,000 worth. We'll keep going, keep it moving. This one, we got some more rent income, and then we replaced an outlet, $101, and resetting a breaker. There's a lot of you sitting there saying, $101, I could replace an outlet for $5. And that could potentially be true. The problem is I have a full-time job. Yesterday, I left my house at 3 a.m. and didn't come back until 2 a.m. this morning. It's easy to say I could do this myself, but I would have to quit my job or not be at my job to do that. And what I'm getting paid at the airline is significantly more than what it would cost for me to be there to replace this outlet. So that's the cost of doing business. You're not only paying management fees, but you're also paying for this ancillary stuff as well. The upper here also got treated for bed bugs. Not ideal. That's something that happens. That's another one that's like, some of it, is it partially the property itself? Potentially, but a lot of times it's the people and how they keep their stuff. Do they wash their clothes and their sheets, and do they change things out? How long have they had their bed for? Where did it come from? Did they bring bed bugs from their last place? So there's a lot of nuance to that, but I don't even worry about it. I'm saying, you know what? That's the cost of doing business. We're going to keep it moving. Got the lower rent income, a penny for the late fee, and then repairing a fence and cleaning up garbage in the yard, $137, and then management fees. So that's the 8% that they charge. And then what I actually get was $1,100 from this duplex. Here's another one. We got a bunch of rent income in, and then boom, $524 water bill. I mean, those are quarterly, but they're expensive. They add up. There's a lot of things that could cause your water bill to be astronomically high. This one isn't necessarily that bad, but if your toilet is running and not shutting off, that's a big one that causes things. There could be leaks. There's all different ways that the water bill could be really high. Plus, the tenants are using the water. That's just the way it goes. We only brought in $609, so our management fees are a measly $44 on this one. We got charge a late fee. We got a portion of the late fee, then they get the rest, charge out for that. And then our owner distribution is a whopping $14.66. So this illustrates right here to me, if you own just this property, if somebody on the internet sells you, you just need one property and you can be financially independent, or you can quit your job. This is what you could expect to get, $14. That's not enough to quit most jobs. Definitely not my job. Next property, we brought in 2,300. We only lost 356, and we saw 1,900 of this one. Pretty good performance here. Rent income, a bunch of rents coming in. We paid for some lawn care, $150 worth of lawn care. Not ideal, but again, you got to keep the properties clean. You don't have to. People don't do that, but I'm in it for the long haul. Management fees, late fee, owner distribution. Another property, bunch of rent income. This is a single family house. I know that one. Just management fees on that, and then we got $11.95 out of that one. So really pretty solid. I think I bought this place. I think I bought this place for about 75 grand. So really not too shabby there. Next property, a bunch of rent income, water bills, $337.96 on the water bills, management fees, proration of the late fee, and then $1,300. So this one did pretty good too. Here's another one, $1,800. We had to do a little bit of plumbing, some sink. This is something that you'll see a lot, hair or people in their kitchens dumping grease down. That clogs things up. We had one lady in an upper unit on one of these duplexes that was doing that nonstop. We went there 3-4 times before we got her to stop, and we started charging her back for all those trips because she just wouldn't stop doing it. Here you go, cleared the kitchen sink drain line. I can guarantee you that potentially was due to grease. People put all kinds of shit down their sinks and into their tubs and their freaking toilets. You just never know. So plumbing is a big one. You're going to see that as a recurring theme here. Now, this is what I was talking about before. We got some cash in, a bunch of cash in, but then we did this high water audit. So they looked at my water bills and they're like, hey, this water bill is astronomically high. What is the deal going on here? So they went and checked the faucets, the shutoffs, make sure there's no leaks, check the toilets, and that's the big one. Continuously running toilets can just destroy your water bill. Leaks around the meter and the water heaters. There's a lot of places that you can look for this kind of stuff. And they checked it to see, okay, what's going on here? Because this property's got a pretty high water bill, and that's awesome that they do that, because it cost me money, yes. But in the long term, this price between the water bill and the repair would be less probably than just letting things be how they are and continuously paying for water that's just being wasted. DNS repair, so this is the Department of Neighborhood Services. They go around properties and they'll hit you with a fine and say, okay, you need to fix this or that. You could say, okay, you just have terrible properties, dude. But the DNS, they just pick and choose their battles, and sometimes you're the flavor of the month and they're going to come and get you. So $950 to do everything they did. You'll see here that both of these get cut off. You don't get to see the entire thing on this roll up, but I could always ask for a breakdown if I needed to. But tough month on this one. Owner distribution on this is $285. So again, if you bought this property, it makes $1,700 or so cash in. If you're expecting to see all of that, maybe you paid. I don't know what I paid for this property. I'd have to look and see what it is. But if you bought this for 200, 300 grand and you're only getting 285 on this one, even though you brought in a bunch of rents, you had a bunch of expenses, you need more than just one property to really make this work, because you have to be able to offset the bad properties with good properties. And this would be an example of a good one. Brought in $1,700. We only had $143 of expenses, which was just the management fees, and we took home $1,654. So you can see we're offsetting them with the bad with the good. Here's another decent one, pretty good. Securing some loose carpet to the stairs for $55. Again, could I do that for free? Sure, but it just doesn't pay for what I make in my normal job and the way that I've set my life up. I don't want to do that, and I don't really think that it makes a lot of sense, because this is, let's say, an hour job for me. An hour for me at the airlines is not $55, I can tell you that. Management fees, and then $1,508. This property, bunch of income, management fees, distribution. Pretty simple. Some of these are really clean. Here's a rent roll. So this is all one LLC. So now at the end, you're going to see how the units break down. This is the rent roll. So this is the duplex, brings in $1,700 on this duplex. This one brings in $1,790. This one brings in $2,405. And for the most part, our rents are pretty close to market. There's a couple that are a little low. These are 3 units. So this one and this one are 3 units. I've had these for a long time. When I say a long time, probably like 4 years, but to me, it feels like a long time. Solid buildings, though, honestly. They're not super pretty, but they get the job done. Another duplex. This one's a little bit below market rents. I know exactly what property this is. They've been the same since I've owned it. Probably bought it somewhere in this neighborhood, maybe a little bit after this, but anyways, they could be raised, but these tenants are pretty solid generally. I know exactly who this guy is. I've talked to him on the phone a couple of times back when we were managing stuff. And sometimes you have to weigh the benefit and cost of bringing these to market. If I bring these up to market, which is probably $8.99 or so, maybe $8.50, something like that. If I bring these to market, the potential is that at least one of them is going to leave, and then you're going to have to fix up their unit and rent it out. And so sometimes you look at that and say, you know what, just leave it alone. We'll get that up to market eventually. Here's a single family for $1,300 a month. Here's a duplex, $1,798. Another duplex, $1,870. Another duplex, $2,190. Another duplex, just under $1,800 for a lot of these duplexes. Another one for was this 2,048? Yep. All right, so now this is the next LLC. So this is 3 units in one LLC. Brought in $6,000. We had $800 in expenses, so we saw $5,200 of it. Got all our rent income, paying for lawn care, management fees, proration of a late fee, and then distribution. Very simple, very clean. These are pretty decent buildings. One of these is better than the other. The other one's kind of crap, but income, lawn care, management fees, distribution. Again, very simple. And then here's the rent roll on this. This building brings in $41.85. These are all pretty much market rents. Finally on this building, and this one's got some below market rents. I'd like to get these up so that they're matched. I bought these for $300,000 a piece, I think. A little bit more than I normally would pay for something, but it was a good faith deal to try to secure other stuff in the future. And they're all 3-bed, 1.5 bath, townhouse style. So these should all be probably, I'd say at least $1,395, maybe even $1,450 you could get for them. So maybe I should look into moving these up because there's a little bit of a delta there, maybe $600-$700 a month, which would be helpful. So I might push the envelope on these ones and see if I can get them moved up to market. But you can see they moved in January. This is all showing January 21st, 2024. I have to double check and see if they didn't all move in the same day. Sometimes this is just the way that it was input into the system. So I'll look into this one, but I'll keep you guys posted on this one. This one could have a little bit better rents. But again, you have to weigh the benefits because if somebody moves out, it's going to cost a lot of money to reset a 3-bed, 1.5 bath. Those are pretty big units, and it may not be worth it. Here's a new LLC. This is a smaller one. It's a newer one. This one's a duplex that I just bought. One of the tenants had paid their rent by closing. The other one hadn't, so this is the one that hadn't paid the rent. So you see, it doesn't bring in a whole lot, but it's also an awkward month because it came in mid-month. And then it also transferred money from this property to this property, which had a bunch of problems. First off, the tenant did not pay their rent. They paid a little bit, but not very much. And then there was a blockage, so they had to clear out the blockage. You see this cash in transfer from. This money came from the above duplex to help cover this one for the month. So its ending balance was 0. So I didn't get any money, but I also didn't lose any money. I did because it got transferred, but you get the idea. That's a nothing page. Here's the rent rolls. So this duplex brings in $1,975. This single family brings in $1,499. And this single family, another new one, doesn't show up on the report because nothing happened with it this month. But this one also brings in $1,050. And this place cost me $68,000. So we'll see how that one plays out, but it seems like a decent price. Here's another LLC, brought in $19,505, $5,700 in expenses. Let's go break them down. Bunch of income. We got a repair for a missing trim on the roof, management fees, proration of the late fees, and then owner distribution on that one. Next one, pretty straightforward on this one. Income, management fees, distribution. Income, repair for a replaced water heater. We must have got some prorated money off of it because of the exchange. Bunch of lawn care, management fees, distribution. A bunch of income here. Okay, so here's another one. People don't pay rent. Last month, I had 5 of these. $349 to file an eviction. And this is just filing the eviction. That doesn't mean that it's gone through. That doesn't mean that the sheriff's been ordered. There's more fees for all that stuff. And this also means that you could have filed this eviction and then this person's going to pay up. It doesn't mean that they're getting evicted. It's just starting the process, and it's $350 just to do that. So I had 5 of these last month. These are the things that you just don't really know are going to come up. You can't really plan for this. You don't know who's going to pay. You don't know who's going to stop paying. But in this case, I took out a decent amount of money. And this is why I always stress, if you're a nickel and dime kind of person, you're counting pennies and quarters. There's a lot of people that swear by that and say that's how you're going to get ahead. That's how you're going to make a bunch of money. But in my opinion, I think it slows you down because this is just stuff that happens. This is part of the business. I'm worried about the big numbers. I'm worried about equity. I'm worried about buying. I'm worried about selling and refinancing. If I got in a tizzy about every little thing like this that happens every month, I would literally go insane. It does not pay to worry about that because whether you want it to or not, it's going to happen. And if you start bitching and complaining to your management company, they're just going to fire you. And then you're going to have to go find somebody else. So I think you just keep your mouth shut and just understand that's the name of the business. We got some rent income, management fees, owner distribution. Cash in on this one, pest control. This one's got rats. This is actually a really nice duplex. I know this place. I was surprised to see this for this one, but again, it's hard to know why. There's a why behind this, and I'm paying for it, obviously, but am I the reason why? Is it the property itself that's the problem? Maybe not. They're saying they're coming from the basement. Maybe there's one of the glass block windows in the basement is busted out, or maybe it doesn't have glass block windows at all. But a lot of times that stuff has to do with the way that people are living in these properties. But this one's a really nice duplex. It was really well done. In any case, that's a decent price for those two. Both of these had two different pest control charges in 1 month, management fees, a late fee, proration, and then my own distribution was $1,000 on $1,800 of gross income. And that's before, like I said before, that's before you pay taxes, principal and interest, and then your insurance. Here we go. We got some windows, clearing debris, caulking gaps, and there could be more to this. Like I said, they cut off sometimes, but income, that's the one expense. Management fees, proration, late fees, $1,300 on this duplex. Here's a 4-unit that I've got, brought in $3,800, and it had $2,000 worth of expenses, and you'll see exactly what happened here. Bunch of income, electricity bill. This is just for the common area. Generally with a 4-family, you're just paying for the common area electricity, so that's why this bill is so low. Replace a toilet flange wax ring. That's not uncommon. I've seen a lot of those, but $250 to do that. And then the water bill with a $1,000 water bill. When you see a $1,000 water bill, you have to wonder to yourself, okay, what happened? What is going on here? And you can see down here they actually did an audit, but we got lawn care, cleaning the common areas, more lawn care, and then the high water audit. Looks like they ended up replacing the broken toilet handle and flapper. So one of these toilets was just continuously running, and this is a great example of what happens when you have a toilet that runs nonstop. That is an expensive mistake because $1,100 just for water that nobody used. If you get wrapped up around the axle about some of this stuff, it's going to make you sick. Late fee, owner distribution on that one. Another one, nothing crazy here. Another water bill, management fees, owner distribution, income, lawn care, management fees, distribution. There's a lot of these aren't too exciting. Here's a duplex, another duplex. These are all the rent rolls. This is a 3-unit, another duplex, another duplex. This one's a little bit low on the rent. Another duplex. And you can see this is the 4-unit rather. I love this place. It's a big 4-unit. It's a pretty solid building. It's a brick construction building. It's pretty nice. Another duplex, 3-unit, single family, and that is that. So this is just June. So that's 1 month in the life. Like I said, sometimes stuff goes good, sometimes stuff goes bad. You have to be prepared for the unexpected because that's the only thing that's guaranteed in this game is that there's going to be unexpected things that happen and you're going to have to deal with them. When I see online people talking about what it actually costs to run a property, a lot of people don't really talk about a lot of these things that can happen. Thinking about a high water audit, like understanding your water bill and looking into why is your water bill so high. Looking into that is something that a lot of people don't even think about as a thing that they would even want to care about. But until you get into this and you start seeing bills that are, like I said, $1,000 for that 4-family, then it's, wow, water bills are important, huh? And so anyways, it's just a look into this month. If you guys like these videos, I'll continue to make these videos. If you guys hate them, let me know in the comments. If people don't want to see this, I won't show them. But I thought it was interesting just to give you guys an insight on what it actually looks like to run some properties. Again, this is 60 units, not the biggest portfolio of all time, but I'm doing it while working a full-time job and then flying for the military part-time. You guys could literally be doing anything on the internet, but you're here listening to me talk. So I always want to take your feedback and try to implement it into future videos. So let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya.